met Philip and said, "Follow me." Philip came from the same town, Bethsaida, as Andrew and Peter. Philip found Nathanael and said to him, "We have found the one Moses wrote about in the law, the one about whom the prophets wrote. He is Jesus, son of Joseph, from Nazareth." "From Nazareth," said Nathanael. "Can anything good come from that place?" "Come and see," replied Philip. When Jesus saw Nathanael coming, he said of him, "There is an Israelite who deserves the name incapable of deceit." "How do you know me?" said Nathanael. "Before Philip came to call you," said Jesus, "I saw you under the fig tree." Nathanael answered, "Rabbi, you are the Son of God. You are the King of Israel." Jesus replied, "You believe that just because I said I saw you under the fig tree? You will see greater things than that." And then he added, "I tell you most solemnly, you will see heaven laid open, and above the Son of Man, the angels of God ascending and descending." The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
In the words of the Gospel, wipe away all our sins. Now, if you're listening to Father John and Tara there last week, was the week before the book club program, speaking about a wonderful book, The Temperament God Gave You, and describing the 4 different kinds of temperaments. It seems very interesting that in the readings today we're hearing of these men with different temperaments coming to the fore. It just struck me there. So I was reading the Gospel that perhaps Nathanael was a bit of a melancholic. You know, can anything good come out of Nazareth? I mean, come on, that place. That we melancholics, I put my hand up, are first to be kind of critical or negative or find fault of the glass is half empty, it's not half full. But will be tend to be discerning maybe a little bit, or be sort of calculating in some way. It seems that Nathanael certainly was a discerning man under the fig tree. Something must have taken place there, and that the Lord reminding him of that moment or that time and changing his heart completely. So it's interesting how our temperaments can play into our nature, or the way we respond, or our behaviour too. That's just good to be mindful of. It's a useful point of reference. Because grace builds on nature. What God's granted in nature we're blessed with, and we might be burdened with maybe. It's not like different temperaments can come out well in different areas of life, or not fare so well in others. But grace can build on that nature we've been given. And we're seeing that certainly in the apostles that have been brought to Jesus in the gospel. But we see how sin has damaged our nature. You can take it right back, as the first letter of St. John does for us today, to Cain and Abel. And jealousy struck Cain's heart because his brother was good. It seemed the only reason that he slew his own flesh and blood right back in his early days was because Abel was Abel. He was a farmer and achieved success, I suppose, in the offering he brought before God. Cain, being a hunter, again was jealous, and perhaps his personality, but also sin crept in there. And we see then from that we learn from that the danger within ourselves too of our fallen nature, and the damage that sin can do to build up these resentments, the clenched teeth, fist that serves no purpose, no good, whatever. Mercy is what matters. So we see prefigured here for us in St. John, Christ himself, who was condemned simply because he was good, God, goodness itself, and put to death out of hatred. And such is the nature of evil and sin. So what John is advocating for us in his letter is to call upon God's grace, the love of God, that our love is not just to be mere words or talk, but something alive, something real and active, and that our consciences should be informed and guided by truth in God. Then we can be at rights and at peace and not be afraid in God's presence. And this is where Abel was at rights with God. Cain was at odds with him. So the apostles, I'm sure, had to learn that as they followed the Lord. And interesting again how after coming and seeing, it's a case of the brothers then finding others and joining others. So Philip was met by the Lord, and from the same town as Peter and Andrew, must have been well known to them, which was a small town, everybody knows everybody. And then Philip goes and finds Nathanael. So there's a kind of a relay effect going on here, a ripple effect too. And again, the Lord promising, look, you'll see greater things than just this little inside of Abba offer you under the fig tree. So the Lord calls us each by name, and each one of us is called to respond to him, to open our hearts to his grace and his mercy, to form our minds and our hearts and our consciences according to his truth, and then to live according to that truth, even if it is that we are likely to be despised or rejected or put upon in some way. It's a mark of an authentic follower of Christ, indeed, that we might receive such opposition. And a test maybe too of our faith in the end, because it's great when everything is just going easy and swimmingly well. It's when the challenges come, and we feel like clenching the fist or the teeth, or the sin kind of wells up within us, or the personality dominates over, nature dominates over grace. So be careful of that balance, certainly. But that's our task here on the radio, and it's a great blessing. We too have been called. We seek to follow Christ, to listen to him, to use Christ and see Christ as our goal, but also as our point of reference. And the opposite of what Nathanael said has come to pass. Can anything good come from Nazareth? In fact, the greatest good of all